What's up, David?
They have provided us with the voices of our favorite characters, whether if they're laughing maniacally, screaming their heads off, or delivering iconic phrases.
I am Optimus Prime.
It's a me, Mario.
Their performances have been and will continue to be admired by many people. To those in this industry, both appreciated and underappreciated, voice actors, we salute you.
The city of Townsville. But enough about that.
I'm ready! Get off tricks! It's go time.
I like potatoes.
I know. You're probably a big nerd.
When I was a really little kid, I loved watching cartoons on Saturday mornings or rewatching movies on VHS. One show in particular that I had very fond memories of watching was Dexter's Laboratory, an animated series on Cartoon Network created by the amazingly talented Genndy Tartakovsky. Dexter's Lab was a very fun show to watch with its many unforgettable gags, likable characters, and fantastic animation. It was also a bit of a variety show. The main show would usually be focused on Dexter's shenanigans, his lack of self-awareness, his rivalry with Mandark, or his experiments constantly being ruined by his older sister Dee Dee. But in between the main stories, we would be treated to watching very charming vignettes, which were Dial M for Monkey, The Adventures of Dexter's Lab Monkey who is secretly a superhero, and the Justice Friends, 3 superheroes who may or may not resemble well-known Marvel characters that live under one roof and face the challenges of everyday life, visiting relatives, electric problems, and wrestling through your filthy, sentient clothes to get your magical guitar back. You know, normal stuff. What really made this vignette so fun to watch was the characters. Major Glory, a star-spangled superhero who is always about the rules and keeping things together. The Infraggable Krunk, a dim-witted muscle man who enjoys breaking things and watching a show about puppets hitting each other. And Valhallen, a Viking god of rock and an all-around very mellow dude.
Many thanks, Major Glory, to you and the Infraggable One for the return of my mystic instrument of might.
This was my grand introduction to one of my favorite voice actors, Tom Kenny. Born July 13th, 1962 in East Syracuse, New York, Tom Kenny always had a fascination with cartoons and voiceover. In his childhood, Tom went to Catholic school where he would spend his downtime making comics and writing jokes for the class clown. The class clown being his best friend, Bobcat Goldthwait. Yes, that Bobcat Goldthwait.
I am a living example of Dianetics!
Tom first met Bobcat in first grade, and the moment he was dragged into his classroom by a crying nun, Tom knew they were going to be best friends.
His nun came dragging him into our classroom, and his nun, he was crying. Bobcat was crying. The nun who taught his class was crying and dragged him by the ear, and she just brought him into my classroom and said, Sister Margareta, I just can't deal with anymore. The Goldthwait boy is too much for me. I just don't, can I just leave him in here for a little while? I have to, and Bobcat was going, way, you know. Because he remembered this. This was one of the watershed moments of my life. You know, it changed my life. Yeah. Because I remember I looked at him and said, he makes nuns cry. I want to be his friend. Must get to know this fellow better.
Immediately, the two hit it off and became a class clown duo, with Tom coming up with the jokes and Bobcat delivering the punchlines to annoy the nuns. They even performed on talent shows together. When Tom was in high school, he, Bobcat, along with a couple of other friends, performed stand-up in comedy clubs and bars. Starting from a young age, Tom got better at stand-up and was able to make money from it. It was also at this point of time where Tom pursued looking for voiceover work, but unfortunately, he didn't really book anything. While Tom's stand-up career was going very well, he liked what he did, but he didn't love it. So when Tom finally started to book some voiceover jobs, he felt like he found his calling.
So I was glad to have it, but I was kind of inwardly troubled that I didn't love it more. Yeah. But something inside me, like an instinct, just said, I think voiceover is the place where my weird skill set might be the best utilized. When I did start booking a little bit of voiceover.
Yeah, what was that like?
Oh my gosh. It was kind of like the first time I did stand-up,
Sure.
where the first time I did it, it went pretty good. And it was just like, wow, this might be a door opening for me.
His transition from stand-up to voice acting began when he was introduced to voice director Chris Zimmerman. It was through this encounter that Tom booked one of his earliest roles in the very short-lived Dumb and Dumber animated series. But it was in the early 90s where Tom would be given a great opportunity for voiceover. Tom met with a comedian from San Francisco named Carlos Alazraqui, who worked at a health club near Tom's house at the time and was also a working voice actor. Recognizing Tom's talents as a performer, Carlos recommended him to Joe Murray to read for a naive and innocent steer on the new show he was working on. Sometime after auditioning, Tom Kenny booked his first major voiceover role as Heffer Wolfe on Rocko's Modern Life, alongside Carlos, who is the voice of the title character Rocko.
So let's hit the road like the greatest road trippers of all time. Guys like Jack Kerouac, the Greasy Riders, Peter Fondue, and that other guy. It's not just a fun idea, Rock. It's our patriotic duty.
The show was a big hit, and it was a fun thing for Tom to be a part of. Although when Rocko ran its course, Tom really struggled to book another voiceover job. He went back to doing stand-up, believing that was the end of his voiceover career. Continuing with stand-up, Tom was given the chance of a lifetime to audition for Saturday Night Live. He made it very far into the audition process and got into the final 3 choices alongside David Spade and Rob Schneider. The only catch was there were only 2 spots left. So Tom put out a performance that he really thought was his best, but sadly, Tom couldn't get in. For the time, this was one of the most devastating events of Tom's life. However, as time went by, more opportunities for voiceover came up, and years later, he's become one of the most productive voice actors in the industry.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was devastating. Like, I cried. I thought that was it. I'm done. I'm toast. What's wrong with me that I didn't get that job? I felt like I did good.
Are you surprised by my tears? Strong men also cry. Strong men also cry.
And now I feel like that was a gigantic, fortunate blessing circumstance that I didn't get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? I feel like I dodged a bullet.
Tom has played thousands of characters in his career, and let me say, his talents are something to be admired by. Let's go over the roles that really demonstrate Tom's fantastic abilities as a voice actor. As Spyro from the video game series of the same name, Tom gives a voice performance that is very down-to-earth and friendly, the kind of guy you'd love to hang out with.
Hi, I'm Spyro. What are you, some kind of goat?
I'm a fawn, you dork.
Oh, sorry.
Did you meet the gem cutters in Glimmer?
Yeah, they gave me a souvenir too. They called it a talisman.
Tom can also create a voice performance that sounds very mentally unstable and disturbing, as shown through his role as Dr. Octopus in Ultimate Spider-Man.
He called me a shut-in, prattled on about my uselessness. I hope he can see me now that I have you.
While we're still on the topic of baddies, Tom's voice performance as Starscream from Transformers Animated really emphasizes the Decepticon's boastfulness and slimy nature.
If it isn't my old pal Megatron. And by old pal, I mean the piece of scum who tried to incinerate me into oblivion!
Starscream, you're alive.
What's the matter? You look like you've seen a ghost. Well, maybe you have.
As Scaramouche from the animated masterpiece Samurai Jack, Tom gives the character a voice that is both very fun and goofy while simultaneously sounding very cool.
Samurai Jack! Man, it is good to see you, babe. What took you so long? I decimated this village days ago. Just for you. Oh, wait, this is you, right? I mean, who could recognize you with all that gear and ruggedness, baby? I'll tell you who. Me! But that. Scaramouche the Merciless!
Then you have Commander Peepers, a character who is a very passionate, loyal member of Lord Hater's army, but is very overworked. Tom does a great job at projecting how clearly stressed out this character is.
Yeah, that's right. Easy as pie. Yeah, I'm looking at him right now. What? Impossible! No, there's no problem, sir. Yes, I'll bring him to you right away. No problemo.
Moving back to the light, Raimundo from Shaolin Showdown represents Tom's youthful and carefree side, as well as showcasing his acting chops at doing accents.
Oh, let me guess. Jack's new sidekick? Don't deny it. Kimiko saw the position posted on the net.
Hey, you are correct. I am Tobimura, mighty warrior of the ninja arts. Hey.
Nice to meet you. I'm Raimundo, Shaolin Dragon of the Wind, in training.
Gibson from Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go presents Tom's highly intelligent and sophisticated side.
I have dubbed them biostatic energy amplification darts.
Oh, how about the Spin Shocker?
Spin Shocker? Please, it's not a dance move.
One character type you'll often hear Tom play is the naive and innocent type, as shown through his performance as Dog from Cat Dog.
How come you were wearing that dress, Shriek? You looked weird. What do you mean, weird? I mean, you look much better this way.
You think so?
Yeah, before you look like a girl.
As beautifully shown through playing Mumbo in Teen Titans, Tom has a spectacular singing voice.
I am the master of ceremonies, so let me set you straight. With just a wave of my magic wand, I'm master of your fate.
But perhaps the biggest thing to highlight regarding Tom Kenny's voiceover talent is that he isn't afraid to be silly.
You are a madman!
Rick Sanchez, you psycho bag of squash!
Heavens to Delaware, don't forget the funky phantom! It's flying discs of doom that fly around and want to eat me!
But that's only me barely scraping the surface of the hundreds of characters that Tom has played through the years. We'd be here forever if I listed them all.
That's him, boys! He's in cahoots with the evil pickle cop killers, cucumber crushers, vinegar varlets, dill destroyers. Why, it's just not kosher!
Let it go, Mayor. Let it go.
Tom has worked with quite a few interesting people through his career in entertainment. During his stand-up days, he opened shows for American musician Buck Owens and American songwriter Jerry Lee Lewis. Tom, along with his wife Jill Talley, have made a few appearances on camera as well. Most notably this dandy traveling couple from the Tonight Tonight Smashing Pumpkins music video, and this married couple who appear at the climax of the Disney film Sky High. Aside from voiceover, Tom is a part of a band named Tom Kenny and the High Seas, where he performs music about a certain yellow sponge we all know. In fact, I had the opportunity to meet Tom Kenny at my high school during our culture festival since one of our teachers was a part of his band. Meeting him for the first time, he was super nice and I even took a picture with him, which was back when I still had braces. Good grief, I do not miss having those cursed things in my mouth. Picking a favorite role of Tom Kenny's was no easy task, not only because of how many characters he's played, but because a lot of them are just so good. With that said, there are two characters that Tom has played that really represent some of his best acting work. Those two roles are SpongeBob SquarePants, from the show of the same name, and Ice King from Adventure Time. Now really, how could SpongeBob not be one of my favorite Tom Kenny roles? He's the most popular character Tom has ever played, and it's easy to see why. SpongeBob is a very endearing and positive character who loves going to work, spending time with his friends, and blowing bubbles. When voicing SpongeBob, Tom really brings out the heart and innocence of the character.
Squidward, we don't need television. Not as long as we have our imagination.
Not only that, but when it came to performing the show's hilarious writing, his comedic delivery was always fantastic.
Our butts are saved, Patrick. Now all we have to... Patrick! No! Patrick! it! No! Why did you put it? Stop! Grab it, Pat! Grab it! Hurry! Hurry! No, Pat! No, no! Get it, Pat! Get it! 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 No!
Want a bite?
You also can't forget his iconic laugh, which is done by Tom Kenny rubbing his hand on his Adam's apple.
Good one, Patrick.
Knowing how lovable SpongeBob is, there's a hilarious story about how he came up with the character's voice.
They were auditioning for a TV commercial that involved elves, Christmas elves, like a holiday commercial.
Yeah.
So it was all these little people.
Yeah.
Hanging around. A lot of them had their own elf costumes because that's what they do. Like if you're a fat guy with a white beard, you go out for the Santa stuff.
Sure.
If you're a little person with an elf with curly-toed shoes, you go out for those auditions. So there was one guy at the audition. He was in a different part of the corridor.
Yeah.
And he was hanging with a couple of his buds.
Yeah.
And just the most bitter, ticked off little person in an elf outfit you've ever seen.
So, this is the only, if it wasn't for the Christmas shit, I wouldn't fucking work. This is the only time of the year that I fucking work. It pisses me off. It's like, I'm glad to have it, knock on wood, but mother, it's like...
And I was just like, wow. And I told Steve Hillenberg that story years go by.
Yeah.
And he remembered that story. I'd totally even forgotten the story because it was something that happened to you on a day and then you tell people that you run into that day and then you kind of forget about it.
Yeah.
And he said, remember that guy? So,
that's kind of where SpongeBob came from, sort of like a munchkin, like a...
without the negativity.
Another thing that makes SpongeBob so unique is that he isn't just a happy idiot. He's a lovable guy who's a kid at heart, similar to the likes of Pee Wee Herman. But much like any other guy, he can get sad. He can get scared.
I surrender! Oh.
SpongeBob!
No!
He can get angry.
I can take losing the topic cards and the phone and the punch bowl, but I was supposed to lead the bunny hop! This is a bunch of barnacles! I'm breaking in!
And he's had some breaking points here and there.
Wait! Don't tell me! You want me to run down to the store and buy Mrs. Puff something she doesn't need, then you want me to run back here so you can say, "Arr, SpongeBob, and you're spending all me money." And then I'll say, "But Mr. Krabs, I'm only doing what you said." Then you'll say, "We're not talking about this or this, we're talking about this."
The biggest thing about SpongeBob compared to every other character Tom has recorded is that this is the only role he didn't need to audition for. Through working on Rocko's Modern Life as Heffer Wolfe, Stephen Hillenburg, the creator of SpongeBob, became familiar with Tom's flair and voiceover and offered him the role. Tom accepted the role and he's still playing the character all these years later, including dozens of video games and 2 theatrically released movies.
Yeah! Yeah! Oh, better luck next time, buddy! Woo!
Then we have the Ice King from Cartoon Network's Adventure Time.
You know why I'm here? Do you know what Ice King means?
Yeah, I know what Ice King means. A big nerd.
Oh, holy cow.
From the start of the series, we see Ice King as your typical Bowser-type bad guy. He kidnaps princesses so he can find a bride, but Finn and Jake always thwart his plans. But as the show continues, we get to learn about who the Ice King is as a person. When he's not kidnapping the princesses of Ooo, he's all by himself in his ice kingdom with his penguins. Sometimes he'll bother Finn and Jake by spying on them or pestering them to hang out with him. At other times, he'll try his best to act cool around people, but he comes off incredibly awkward and uncomfortable.
How about me? Put me on the grid, scale of 1 to 10. 1 is totally gross, 10 is like, dang, Ice King, you look crazy sea-ack.
Tom's voice performance really helps you resonate with the character on an emotional level, in spite of how goofy he sounds. I really have to give Tom a lot of credit because it gives Ice King a level of endearment similar to SpongeBob, only much more grown up.
Oh, pretty baby wife, you're the most normal thing in my whole life. We're like 2 normal jelly beans sitting at the bottom of the jar, floating in a sea of olives, waiting for somebody to guess how many jelly beans are in the jar, which I mentioned.
I don't think I understand.
Just look into my eyes and know that everything is okay.
There's a specific element of the Ice King I want to analyze, but I warn you that I will be spoiling a major twist from Adventure Time. So if you have not seen the episode Holly Jolly Secrets, skip to the following time in the video. You have been warned. When I said I'd be talking about 2 of my favorite Tom Kenny roles, well, it turns out I'm actually talking about 3. There is another character that Tom Kenny plays in Adventure Time that really puts his acting abilities to the test. No, I'm not talking about Flambeau, Starchy, or Orgelord, although those are very well-performed characters. I am talking about Simon Petrikov, an intelligent scientist who had a lovely fiancée and studied strange artifacts. All that changed when he discovered a mysterious crown, a magical crown that granted him the ability of ice and snow, but at the cost of driving him insane.
I don't yet know what this means. As you can see, my skin is beginning to turn blue. My body temperature has been lowering at a supernatural rate to what is now about 30 degrees Celsius. I don't know when it will end. I'm really scared.
Years later, Simon's mentality would continue to deteriorate from wearing the crown, and he would start calling himself the Ice King. Yes, that's right. At one point in his life, the Ice King was a human man with a lovely woman. After learning about this shocking twist, we see a whole new side of the Ice King. All of his kidnappings and awkward interactions with other people are now much more tragic because we realize that these are merely fragments of who the Ice King once was. Holly Jolly Secrets wouldn't be the last we see of Simon. In fact, we see him appear every now and then for any really big episodes. Tom really knocked this performance out of the park. As Simon, Tom Kenny really dives into the character's inner turmoil and anxiety.
I thought I'd never see you again.
I can hardly believe it myself. You're all grown up.
Believe? She's like 1,000,000 years old.
1,000,000 years? How could it be?
He's just kidding. I'm only 1,000.
He wants to protect his loved ones, but he's ill-equipped and just barely holding on to what sanity he has left. So when we realize that this character's stability is all but gone, it's very heartbreaking. Truly one of Tom Kenny's most remarkable voice acting roles.
Just watch over me until I can find my way out of this labyrinth in my brain and regain my sanity. And then maybe Betty, my princess, maybe you will love me again. Please love me again, Betty.
Tom Kenny is a fantastic actor and one of my biggest influences for getting into voiceover. He's a super nice guy, loves his job, and his happiness is just super contagious. After learning so much about how far Tom's come in the industry, it makes me think back to that Saturday Night Live audition. I started to wonder, what if Tom did get on SNL? I'm sure he'd get some really good characters and have some funny skits, but SpongeBob just wouldn't have the same iconic voice we all know and love. Neither would Scaramouche, Scoutmaster Lumpus, the Mayor of Townsville, the Ice King, or any of the other characters I've discussed just wouldn't sound the same. I don't just mean they would be played by a different guy. No matter the character he played, Tom's voice performance was always likable. He could play the voice of a disgusting, despicable jelly bean, and he would still have some likable charm to him. Tom Kenny has fun doing what he does, and as a result, we have fun listening to him. To Tom Kenny, I've grown up hearing your voice in my favorite cartoon since I was a toddler. You are a super nice guy and an incredible actor. You're someone I really aspire to be like, not just as a voice actor, but as a person who loves their job with a mighty passion. You're hilarious, crazy talented, and I can't wait to see what you do next. Praise the magic conch shell, because I couldn't come up with anything else. Hey guys, this is Kai. Just thanking you guys for watching this video. It really means a lot. If you have any recommendations for any voice actors I should cover next, please let me know in the comments down below. Enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, whatever you're experiencing right now. I hope you have a good one.